Haley Stevens, very staunch pro-Israel Democrat who's currently running in the Michigan Senate race, was asked on CNN why she stated that Israel comes to her in her dreams. So I want you guys to take a listen to this clip here, and then let's talk about it.
Let's talk a little bit about your opponent, Abdul El-Sayed, who has criticized you on Israel in particular. And, of course, with the war in Iran back at the top of our show, back at the top of the headlines today. I want to play something that he has used to create a website attacking you. If you go to the website, it just plays this on a loop. I want to show it to our viewers. We'll talk about it on the other side. Watch.
In the United States Congress, I will continue to fight for the people of Israel. I will continue to fight for Israel's existence. Israel comes to me in my dreams. I see Israel's future.
How would you characterize the remarks you were making then, and what impact does this have now?
Sure. Look, I was standing with the Jewish community and a group of hostages who were in pain, people who had just gotten released from the Hamas tunnels. It was a very emotional moment, and I have been certainly very dedicated to standing by all Michiganders who have experienced pain as a result of a war that was started multiple years ago, and frankly, a war that Benjamin Netanyahu has mismanaged. And
So I'm just going to pause right there. She cares about all Michiganders. I wonder if she'd ever go to the Palestinian community and tell them that, you know, she cares about Palestinians and she wants to make sure that Palestinians have self-determination in a state, and she'll force Israel to pull out of the occupied West Bank. I wonder if she's going to ever go and say that. So if you go to the actual website, and they already showed you it. It's really funny. If you go to that website, let me share my full screen here, and you click, it really just does this on a loop.
And in the United States Congress, I will continue.
So, and you guys heard it, and it'll just keep looping, and it'll say right here on the right-hand corner, time since loop. There's nothing else on here aside from make it stop and donate. And then if you click more Haley, it literally just keeps adding boxes of Haley Stevens. That's actually pretty crazy. So she responds to that by saying, Israel comes to me in my dreams, and it was a very emotional moment. Okay, if you're looking right now, there's a few other clips. She's been consistently saying this, especially as we come closer to the Democratic primary. She's been saying that Republicans are intentionally propping up Abdul El-Sayed. So I want you guys to take a listen to this clip, and then I want to show you the actual data on all of this as well.
What does that progressive wing, the Democratic Socialist wing of the Democratic Party, what is their support signaling to you? How do you respond to that larger momentum in which Dr. El-Sayed is being placed inside of this wave alongside a certain ideological wing of the Democratic Party?
well, I can tell you who else is supporting Abdul's campaign, and that's Republicans. They're spending thousands of dollars right now to prop up his candidacy, to put out paid-for polls, and no one wants Abdul to win more than the Republicans. And that's because they think that they can beat him in November. What they've never done is beaten me.
What does that...
So she says that Republicans are intentionally propping up his campaign. So there was actually a website that fact-checked this, and it stated that, yes, Republicans are spending actually a lot of ads, and this is obviously very expected. Republicans are spending a lot of ads to frame him as radical, like too radical for Michigan, far leftist, and that was expected. They're trying to frame him as the very far leftist that the average Michigander wouldn't be able to connect to. They're not putting out promotional ads in support of him, but they're doing a lot of framing as making him too extreme. However, an analyst did say, which is just simply true, I don't think it's a secret, that national Republicans are rooting for El-Sayed. They see him as a much weaker candidate. They feel they can paint him as more extreme. That's obvious. Now, you know what's interesting is if you look at all the polls, it shows that if it came down to Mike Rogers and Abdul al-Sayed would still be ahead. Even more ahead versus a runoff between Haley Stevens and Mike Rogers. She keeps painting this narrative. At the same time, though, the polls don't support her either. Now, I want to tell you guys one more thing, which is also true. You know, Michigan is not going to be like New York, for example. The people, the demographics, the people, their beliefs, it's all different. It's all different. So if you do paint yourself as too far left, it might not have the same benefits that it will have in a place like New York City. At the same time, though, among Democrats, painting yourself as obsessed with Israel is also not going to have the same benefits in Michigan, especially if you're running in the Democratic primary either. So both of them end up having things that could potentially sway voters away from them. And I personally think that what sways voters away, more voters will be swayed away from Haley Stevens because of her views than from somebody like Abdul al-Sayed. I think that's very obvious now. More Democrats are likely to not want to support Haley Stevens, even during an actual, the general election, versus the people that will not want to support Abdul al-Sayed, which will most likely just simply be Republicans, maybe some independents as well, during the actual general. It still ends up faring out better for Abdul al-Sayed. That's personally what I believe in. I think the data has consistently shown that it backs this as well. There's one more clip that I wanted to play for you guys here. Let me go ahead and find it. Well, actually, Abdul al-Sayed, he posted on X yesterday. Brad Lander built his campaign on rejecting money from corporations in AIPAC, investing in people here at home instead of bombs abroad, and guaranteeing health care for all. His landslide win shows us how hungry people are for change. I'm honored to receive his support, and I look forward to working with him in Congress. Obviously, AOC has also campaigned with Abdul al-Sayed as well. And then I did want to finish the rest of this, so take a listen.
Congresswoman, I had Mr. al-Sayed on this program a few days ago, and I asked him several times if Israel has a right to exist. He would not say that straight out. What is your answer to the question? Does Israel have a right to exist?
Well, absolutely. And this is a stark policy difference between my opponent, Abdul, and myself. My goal and the work that I stand by is long-term peace and a two-state solution where people in Palestine, in Gaza, can live peacefully side by side with the people of Israel. It is deeply concerning that Abdul equivocates when talking about Israel's right to exist. That does not bring us closer to peace. That does not help this tenuous situation. I stand by a two-state solution and my long work to bring us to that goal.
So this is just a flat out lie, by the way. It's a complete total lie. She says one thing. Look at her voting record. Go to votelog.org. Actually, go to my website, votelog.org, and we can check her voting record right now. This is the thing. These Democratic establishment type people, they keep saying they support a two-state solution, yet they don't want to take any of the action whatsoever to head us in that direction. Look at all this. Look at all of the legislation that she supported for Israel. Every single one. There hasn't been anything at all that has shown at all that she's willing to actually work towards a two-state solution. She'll keep stating that until there's no Palestine left. That's what her and all these other Democrats are going to consistently do. That are taking money from AIPAC while stating that. Funny how they're never asked, does Palestine have a right to exist? Because regardless, states, countries don't have rights to exist. People do. They're consistently asking about Israel's right to exist. Since when did countries have rights? People have rights. People have rights to self-determination. Your entire voting record shows you do not care at all about Palestinian people. Let me know when you go over to a Palestinian community in Michigan and you start talking to them about their statehood and their aspirations and see what legislation you're going to advance for them. I mean, it's just so ridiculous and bought out, and you can see it. My concern is, we're just going to have to wait and see. I think the Michigan primary is going to be really interesting because regardless of the result, we're going to get a lot of data back on how the average American, I think Michigan represents it, like, you know, the average Midwest. And I'm excited to see kind of just the stats on that to see, okay, is all of this anti-Israel sentiment, how much does it actually influence Democratic voters? I'm curious because it seems like most Democrats are not in support of Israel. The polls show that consistently. How far are they willing to go to not vote for an AIPAC-backed candidate that's consistently voting in support of Israel? So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button as well. And also, guys, if you haven't yet, definitely consider going to votelog.org. You can track your politician's voting record on Israel and Palestine. And if you want to support votelog.org, definitely consider donating. Help me develop the website. Thank you so much to the 113 supporters who have donated so far. Otherwise, I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye, everybody.